can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question.
That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
We are in possession of tomorrow's front pages. That's right, it is time for headliners. And tonight, Leo Kurz and the brilliant Miriam Elia will be reacting to tomorrow's big stories. So don't go anywhere. An hour of big opinions, big stories, and a few laughs along the way. First up, here are the headlines.
Good evening, I'm Tamsin Roberts in the GB newsroom. The Prime Minister has admitted it was a tough night for the Conservative Party in the local elections, having lost more than 340 councillors in England alone. Labour has gained control of 3 key Tory councils in London, with Sir Keir Starmer celebrating what he called a massive turning point for the party. But it failed to make similar advances outside the capital. The Liberal Democrats have made significant gains around the country, winning almost 200 seats. In council elections in Scotland, the SNP remains the largest party and Labour the second largest. In Wales, the Conservatives have lost control of their only majority council, Monmouthshire, and Plaid Cymru gained control of 4 councils. Just a warning, there's some flashing images coming up now. Sinn Féin is on course for a historic victory in the Northern Ireland Assembly election after receiving the most first preference votes with a majority 29%. The DUP coming second with 21%. Counting is set to continue into tomorrow. Sir Keir Starmer insists he's confident no rules were broken as police open an investigation into allegations of lockdown breaches. The Labour leader is alleged to have drunk beer with colleagues, including Deputy Leader Angela Rayner, during campaigning for the Hartlepool by-election in April 2021. It was at a time when indoor mixing was banned. Ukrainian officials are accusing Russia of violating a ceasefire as they try to evacuate civilians out of Mariupol. The UN has helped hundreds of trapped civilians get out the Azovstal steelworks in recent days, and Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister says a further 50 have been rescued today. More than 100 people are still trapped there. The MOD has confirmed Russia is continuing their assault on the plant. The Queen has decided that only working royals will join her on the Buckingham Palace balcony at Trooping the Colour this year. Neither Prince Andrew, Prince Harry or Meghan will appear alongside Her Majesty. But a spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex has confirmed the couple will attend other Jubilee events with their children to mark the Queen's 70-year reign. Meanwhile, the Queen's speech will include an overhaul of mental health powers to stop those with learning difficulties being detained without their consent. Currently, people with learning disabilities and autism can be kept in psychiatric units, even when they may not suffer from mental health conditions and would benefit from being cared for elsewhere. Boris Johnson says a draft mental health bill to be announced next week will ensure no patient is detained unnecessarily. He's called mental health laws antiquated. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now it's back to Mark and headliners.
Hello, I'm Mark Dolan and welcome to Headliners, the show where we join hands and gaily romp through the day's news with our very finest comedy boots on. Joining me throughout the undulating topical landscape are Miriam Elia, top comedian, and through the perilous satirical pitfalls, it's Leo Kearse. Great to have you both with us. Let's start with tomorrow's front pages. And here's what the Mail have to offer. It's Saturday's Mail. They're splashing with Beergate, day 10. They won't let this go, will they? Now it's slippery Starmer in crisis. First, he fails to win back the Red Wall. Then police launch investigation into his beer and curry nights, just like the probe that led him to piously demand Boris's head. And Meghan and Harry Jubilee balcony ban. Flying in, the Sussexes will attend the Jubilee but won't appear alongside the Queen on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Next up, the Daily Telegraph. Victory for Sinn Féin stokes United Ireland fears. Nationalists on course to be the biggest party in Stormont for the first time. What might be the implications for the union? Sussexes will be here, but not on the balcony. The Telegraph running with that royal story as well. And police in Durham now investigating Beergate, a topic we'll be discussing with my brilliant panel tonight. In The Independent next, police investigate Starmer's COVID beers. And Tory MPs warn Johnson has lost public's trust. Leadership questions as election losses blamed on the PM. The Guardian next, PM blamed for Tory election disasters. And Starmer, police to investigate lockdown breach. The FT weekend, Johnson faces renewed threat as Tories hit hard in the local elections. The Daily Mirror, Jubilee bombshell snubbed, no balcony invite for Andrew, Harry and Meg, but couple to bring Lilibet to meet the Queen. The Times on Saturday, Tories punished in South, Conservative MPs voiced doubts about Johnson's leadership as hundreds of council seats are lost, and police inquiry into Starmer's office beer. Daily Express next. Bullish Boris back on track as Red Wall keeps faith. PM vows to deliver for Britain after better than expected election results. The Sun next. Are you going to Corma quietly, sir? Calls grow for hypocrite to quit. They're not pulling their punches. This is Harry Cole, the political editor of The Sun. Hypocrite Sir Keir Starmer was facing demands to quit last night after police began an inquiry into his lockdown beer and curry night. Durham cops said significant new information had emerged about a breach of COVID rules at Labour's HQ. And last but not least in the Daily Star, Struth, hard-up Brits heading down under to escape the cost of living crisis. 670% rise in online searches for Australian visas. A new generation of £10 POMs are heading down under to beat the cost of living crisis. Only this time, it will cost a bit more than a tenner. And those are your front pages. And let's go straight to Saturday's Daily Mail and Sir Keir Starmer Oh, how the mighty have fallen, Leo.
Well, yeah, he hasn't fallen yet, but it's looking dicey for him.
He's wobbling, isn't he?
Well, he spent weeks hammering the Tories, hammering Boris Johnson for apparently having, a party or a series of parties with, the odd glass of wine or a surprise birthday cake. And we saw photos, there's photos in the garden, which actually looked like a good place to have a party in a pandemic because it's in the fresh air, so the virus can't transmit. It can only transmit.
And also, cheap red wine kills all bugs, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the stuff you're going to be able to afford as a parliamentary aid isn't going to be. It's going to be
Jacob's Creek should be the ultimate vaccine.
yeah. Although I don't think they were hosing each other down in it. But so after being incredibly pious and hammering this point that the Tories broke the rules that they set. It turns out that Keir Starmer is looking like he also breached lockdown rules. So there's video of him, through a window having a beer. It's not the most exciting. When we say it's a party, it's these things are relative. It's a party with Keir Starmer at it, so it's a rubbish party. And they ordered curry and all the rest of it. But yeah, so Durham Constabulary are saying they've received new information, so they're proceeding with an investigation.
Yeah, it's not exactly 24-hour party people. My thought, Miriam, is I don't care about Partygate or Beergate. My objection is the foolish rules in the first place, which I think were nonsensical.
Well, it's like banning people from being a human being.
Right.
Based on absolutely nothing.
Exactly, but here comes...
And then this gravitas of it being science. So you've broken a science experiment.
Yeah, exactly
right. Hold on, this isn't the law, this is a science experiment. And you've decided not to participate in the science experiment, which, by the way, is anyone's right.
Well, that's right. and that's why, when Partygate broke as a story, I did say on my programme that I thought that it was bad for legislators to tell us to do one thing and then do quite the opposite themselves.
No, that's immoral.
Hypocrisy and immoral. But really, the crime for me was the actual rules themselves.
Yes.
And I would let this one go, which is a beer after work for Keir Starmer, if he hadn't been so pious and so hand-wringing about Partygate himself. And that's why he's got to face justice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
it's not about the beer, it's not about the party, it's about you creating a whole new set of rules to structure society about controlling a virus with no weighted scientific evidence behind what you're doing. You're basically stopping people from visiting their own mum on her deathbed, yet you're having a curry. It's completely, balmy? Is that the word? Cuckoo?
Yeah,
and they were both having a go at each other. I was like, I'm the bigger Puritan.
Sorry,
I'm the bigger Puritan.
No, I have to correct.
No, I've got some sympathy with the Tories because they didn't want to bring in the rules. Boris didn't want to bring in the rules. He didn't want to lock down Britain. He wanted the economy to carry on and everybody to have their freedoms. But he had to because we're a nation of absolute crybabies. We want the government to come round and wipe our bums for us. So he had to bring these rules in. But Labour were like, we want more of these rules. Instead of acting like an opposition, they were like, no, do this, but do more of it. Do it harder. Come on, do what you're doing, but do it worse. And that's why I think, Keir Starmer really, he would have brought in, we would still be in lockdown. We'd still be sealed into a tomb in our house, being fed through a tube if Labour were in power. I mean, luckily, they'll never be in power again. But if they ever did get in power, can you imagine?
Yeah, Miriam, by the way, I'd like to contradict you. I don't think the rules were balmy or bonkers. They were the science, brackets, TM.
And what's that? Can someone please write to me and tell me exactly what the science is? Because you can't, because there's no such thing. There's no official consensus on any scientific method or you can't... It's not the Bible, it's not a...
Well, completely. There is some controversy, by the way, about the timing of Durham Police's announcement that this investigation into Beergate would happen. Robert Peston from ITV has said it will anger many that before polling day, Durham Constabulary started an investigation. Before polling day, the investigation began into whether Keir Starmer's beer drinking on the 30th of April last year breached COVID rules, but was only disclosed today. Many would say that was material information that might have influenced the outcome of the local election.
Absolutely, but I mean, the local elections didn't go very well for Labour. They didn't get the huge swing to Labour that they were expecting. I mean, if anything, the swing, there was a swing away from the Tories, but it went to the Lib Dems.
Yeah. How do you see this playing out? I mean, do you think that Keir Starmer will be fined by the authorities? And if so, does he resign?
I think there will be a few fines. I don't think anybody's going to resign over this.
No.
I don't think anybody cares anymore, to be honest. I think this is the last we'll really... I mean, obviously, you know, some people are going to hammer on about it, but nobody cares. Everybody understands. You know, Boris, Keir Starmer, everybody has a beer after work, especially when you're dealing, you know, working long hours in a high-pressure environment. Of course you're going to have a beer at work. But it's the fact that Keir Starmer was so pious about it and really wanted to nail Boris Johnson to the wall over this. So now he needs to take some nails himself.
Yeah, there you go. And on that Christ-like image, let's move on to Saturday's Sun. And the Queen has had it up to here with these pesky kids, Miriam.
Yes, she has basically banned Harry, Meghan and Andrew from coming to her Jubilee, Platinum Jubilee celebration. And she's basically implied that they would turn it into a circus.
Well, that's right. They're not going on the balcony.
No.
The argument from the palace is that they're not actively working as royals.
Right.
But it's still going to hurt, isn't it? It's a burn, don't you think?
Oh, poor them. Oh, liberal tears. Oh, crying.
But do you think the Queen did the right thing? I mean, do you think that, given the fact that this couple have been slagging off the royal family from the luxury of their Montecito mansion...
I know.
Maybe
I'm peddling this kind of woke nonsense that everyone seems to be swallowing.
Oh, yeah.
She's like the queen of that. I think it's probably logic, you know?
Yeah.
If you know, am I wrong?
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
It's another snub for Meghan, who is also getting snubbed by, I think, Spotify dropped one of her things.
Yes,
there was a thing, Pearl. I don't know if that was on Spotify.
That was
or
on Netflix. That's right. The series was dropped. Yeah.
So Netflix, you know, gave her $100 million for content before she'd even made anything, which is a terrible idea. You know, give half up front and then half at the end.
So where do you think they're going to go if they're not on the balcony? There is a very good Wetherspoons around the corner from the palace, and I'm just trying to work out.
That's like sacrilege to the woke, though, isn't it?
That's true.
That's the worst possible
very
place.
sort of very Brexity pub, isn't it?
Exactly.
Wetherspoons. But if they're lucky, if the Jubilee's on a Thursday, that's actually Curry Thursday.
It's Curry Thursday, yeah. So they could
chicken
go there.
Tikka masala rice and a pint for $5.99.
Last time I was in Wetherspoons, all of the days, because it used to be on different days, but they were having all of the days every day. So you could get your steak, your fish and chips, your curry. It was amazing. Anything you wanted, whenever you... Capitalism in action. It was like America in the 1980s.
It's the best pub on the planet.
Yeah. Unlike, I think Harry and Meghan, they've sort of become this sort of almost like a rubbish Kardashians, an inbred Kardashians.
A circus?
Yeah, a circus. I'd like it if the royal family did. If they were privatised and turned into some sort of circus, where, you know, instead of going around in a little chariot and waving out the window, there was like 30 of them came out of a tiny chariot.
Well, we can but dream. We'll move on to rather important politics that affect the Union now. This is in The Guardian, Saturday's Guardian, Leo. Sinn Féin, now a seriously powerful force in Northern Ireland. Yeah, I mean, they always were, but they never had a majority in the Parliament in Stormont in Northern Ireland. So Sinn Féin, they're the Republican. They want Northern Ireland to rejoin with the Republic of Ireland. United Ireland. United Ireland. They appear on track to become the largest party in Northern Ireland's Stormont Assembly in the Parliament. So projections put Sinn Féin ahead of the Democratic Unionist Party. So Sinn Féin have got, I think it's 29%, and the DUP have got 21.3%. So we're still waiting for the final results, I think. But if it's confirmed, it would allow the party to make history and deliver a shock to unionism, which has always, I believe, had a majority in the party by having Michelle O'Neill, the Sinn Féin leader, as First Minister. So yeah, I mean, another thing that's sort of lost in the details is the centrist alliance, which is for people who identify as neither unionists nor Republicans, who don't, you know, who want a sort of more progressive centrist Ireland or Northern Ireland. Got 13.5%, which is a big boost for them. And looking at it, I mean, I'm not sure that Ireland actually wants Northern Ireland to rejoin. I'm not sure. Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, is incredibly prosperous now. I spent a lot of time there. It's an amazing country and doing really well. But to have these extra 6 counties and to have to look after them, that would be a big cost for them. And the inevitable sectarian conflict that would emerge, because the unionist population of Northern Ireland would be deeply unhappy. Yeah, and I'm not sure that the North really want to be unified, because they'd lose all
all the stuff they get from being part of the UK, so you know, free medical care, which you don't get in the Republic of Ireland. So yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out. There's 35% apparently support for a border poll, so that's, you know, equivalent of 35% want the Northern Ireland to rejoin. So,
and a border poll is essentially an independence referendum.
Yeah. So, but voters have ranked the cost of living and health services their chief concerns. But obviously, this campaign has been dominated and really been driven. This shift has been driven by the post-Brexit Northern Ireland Protocol. So it puts a trade border in the Irish Sea, and there's a contest, you know, between Sinn Féin and DUP. So they've really exploited this Brexit, just all the difficulties that Brexit has brought for Northern Ireland and the sort of trade and borders with the Republic of Ireland. I've been talking for too long. Somebody else have a go.
Well, Miriam,
you seem to know a lot about the situation. So yeah,
here at GB News, we've got so many viewers in Northern Ireland.
Yes, hi.
And many of them would be horrified at the idea of not being part of the United Kingdom anymore.
Fair
so
enough.
there's trouble brewing, isn't there?
There is trouble. But there's, I mean, that's what you think of when you think of Ireland.
Really?
Well, it's quite trouble.
Any examples of that in the past? Maybe one or two.
I'm not an expert on Irish politics.
Well,
but
it doesn't stop a lot of people commenting.
I think, you know, yeah, it would seem so. I don't think it would be like an easy thing for the whole country to unite. I think there would probably be quite a lot of resistance because those kind of separations quite deep.
Well, yeah, and also here's the point, Leo, in your area of expertise is Scottish politics. You're a proud Scotsman yourself. That I always...
I'm a proud British.
Yeah, and a Brit, right?
British Scotsman.
But I'm at pains to remind people, when it comes to the debate around Scottish independence, that a vote for the SNP does not necessarily mean a vote for independence.
Yeah.
And that you can't just assume that because Nicola Sturgeon is so politically successful in Scotland, that means everyone that votes for her wants out. And that could be the same for Sinn Féin.
Well, yeah, the SNP, people could be voting for the SNP because they want terrible education, terrible health service, you know, terrible...
but it's true, isn't it?
You know?
It's not... A vote for SNP is not a mini referendum, is it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there still seems to be, north and south, there still seems to be, you know, no massive push or desire for reunification. But it's just, I mean, it's crazy to see Sinn Féin, you know, Gerry Adams, who's been linked to murders and things, you know, back when the IRA was active and, you know, was a terrorist organisation. I mean, it makes you wonder, in 20 years' time, is Abu Hamza going to be running for Parliament somewhere and getting in?
In this crazy bonkers world, anything could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you do wonder about that, don't you? Also, that remarkable moment when Martin McGuinness, who was the commander-in-chief of the IRA, shook hands with the British monarch, shook hands with the Queen. But this is a great argument, isn't it, Miriam? Before we get to our last story of this break, that when I was growing up, you're both younger than I am, but I remember growing up, and the argument was, you know, to the IRA and to all terrorists, which is get your message across through democratic means, OK? Bombs will not win the argument. Votes will. But it felt like sort of just empty hyperbole at the time. But here we are now.
Yeah.
You know, love or hate the Republican cause,
Yeah.
Sinn Féin are there democratically, and that's huge progress, isn't it?
That is, yeah. That is.
Long may it continue. So
no more nails in dustbins.
there you go. If you are watching in No More Nails in Dustbins, she doesn't pull her punches this time. If you are watching in Northern Ireland, then it's just wonderful to have your company. And if you're enjoying the show and GB News, tell your friends, tell your family, and let's change the world together. Saturday's Mail now, and forget bats, cows and birds as sources of the next pandemic. What could it be, Miriam?
So, there's a mysterious hepatitis outbreak in children. So another 18 have been struck down with this really strange type of hepatitis that creates liver disease, and the health chiefs are trying to figure out whether it's dogs that are creating this. So pet dogs are being probed as a potential cause, and there's like a high number of these sickened children. I don't know if I'm swallowing this, that suddenly dogs are giving children liver disease. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah. When are we going to lock down for these kids? Tomorrow? What's the plan? And obviously shoot the dogs.
Quarantine. Yeah. Did you see what they did in China with the dogs? If someone got China, I've seen the footage of dogs in plastic bags. Like, it's horrific.
It's very, very sad, obviously.
Sold at Tesco.
Yeah, it's crazy that what people do in the name of health and safety. I mean, it's...
Obviously, you know, I'm really sad to hear that the kids aren't well, and I do hope that their symptoms are not too serious. Obviously,
Yes.
it does sound like quite a concerning condition.
Yeah,
But
300 cases.
Yeah, 300 cases. You do wonder how this one's going to play out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go. Lots to get through in the next section. Delighted that my team have put together some great stories from tomorrow's papers. We've got some challenging stories ahead, but some fun as well. I've been to the comedy mountaintop and I've seen the promised land, and we'll get you there in about 2 minutes' time. Light and shade, that's what Headliners is all about. See you in 2.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's 2 questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you, or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers with me, Mark Dolan. Now, there's an old saying which is never meet your heroes. Well, luckily, that's not happening tonight because I'm joined by Miriam, Elia and Leo Kearse, who are just ordinary people I would call colleagues. Saturday's Telegraph. And let's have a look at this. We know that too many cups of coffee can be hazardous to your health, Miriam.
Yes.
But how about coffee from a certain factory?
Well, this is an amazing story, actually. Cocaine worth £40 million was discovered in coffee bags at a Nespresso
Now, that would be
plant.
40 million quid, just to quantify that. That would be 2 nights in a hotel room with what's his face? Johnny Depp. Am I safe to say that?
One night. The massive haul of cocaine was found stuffed into the shipment, not in the coffee, but in the shipment. So people are kind of obviously opening their coffee going, God, is there coke in there? But no, it's not, they didn't go in there. It was underneath probably in the pallets or something. But so it's one of the largest drug busts ever. And I love it. It's like a story out of the 1970s. It makes you think of men in white Panama hats and big moustaches.
It really does.
You know, with the 18 involved.
Sophisticated drug dealers.
Yeah, I miss these kind of stories.
Yeah, the people for whom it was a science, a real exacting science.
Well, I feel like every week there's a new story about cocaine being found smuggled. Last week it was in a stuffed reindeer. We covered a story and there's cocaine in a stuffed reindeer. And I just feel let down that I'm 45 years old and I've never found $40 million worth of cocaine anywhere. Like washed up on a beach or in a stuffed toy or, you know, in a bottle of ornamental beads from...
I will pray for you that you're...
Well, I've got to say,
happens.
full disclosure, folks, I've been a keen drugs mule for years.
Really?
And it really brings down the cost of a 2-week trip to Tenerife. Claire de la Americas is not
Were you taking the drugs there or bringing them back?
Yeah, they don't make it past the airport, if I'm honest with you. Now, this one from The Times seems like 2 steps forward and 1 step back for medical science, Leo.
Yeah, so this is about a man, David Bennett Sr., 57, from the US state of Maryland. So he died in March, unfortunately, but it was 2 months after he had this experimental transplant of a pig heart. So they transplanted a pig heart into him to see if it would work. And it did work. I mean, he had to take medication to suppress because obviously your body wants to reject it because it's a foreign protein. But it worked. I mean, for 2 months, which is, that's pretty good. I mean, he was a guinea pig, no pun intended. But they've now found that they don't know if this killed him. They don't know if this killed him, but he was carrying an animal virus from the pig. So it was porcine cytomegalovirus, which is my drag queen name, and it caused an active infection in him, and so I don't know if it caused his death, but it could have contributed to it.
Yeah, I've got a statement here. Actually, it's very sad. His last words were, "Oink oink." So,
a man has died, Mark. Please.
And of course, every death is a tragedy.
That's exactly right. No, God bless him.
No,
Poor
it is.
guy.
It's
Pretty
poor guy.
Let's hope that the two incidents. I mean, that's another thing. We were talking about progress in politics. What about progress in science and getting an animal's heart into your body? The idea that would give you life for an extra 3 seconds is already miraculous.
So that's a freak thing. They've never done it before. Pig heart transplant.
I've not heard. There's not much of it about, is there?
They've done other things but they use the actual frame of the organ rather. I think this is they took the actual organ. So other times they've broken down the sort of proteins and stuff and left the actual frame of the whatever it is and put it in the person. But this is the whole pig heart. So the pig muscle is beating.
Okay, yeah, that's just not going to work, is it?
And I think they use
I'm not a scientist, but if you got me in there and they were like, look, what we're going to do, this is the first time, are you up for it? We're up for it. But the pig's heart in a man's heart, I just think,
This is progress.
He's a goner.
He lived for 2 months. I mean, the first person to have an iron lung or whatever probably didn't make it past 2 months. This is progress. So, and they used DNA techniques to make sure the pig heart wouldn't be as rejectable by
I think if you were dating someone that had a pig's heart, would that be a sort of put off?
It's not kosher.
Would you? Well, that's a big factor, isn't it?
Would it be?
Or what about halal? I mean, you get halal
definitely
kidneys now?
Halal kidneys, no. Definitely wouldn't want us to do those.
If you would like, I mean, are there any body parts of like an animal that you?
I'd love it if somebody had some foie gras. Just then I could save money on the meal. If I was dating somebody with a foie gras liver, just slice a bit off,
not a bad shout,
fry it up in the back.
You do wonder. You look at the animal
kingdom. Is this the new trans thing then? Trans animal?
Well, yeah.
Have I just invented something?
It's chimera.
Trans animal. I'm kind of morphing into the animal kingdom.
Funny you should say that, Miriam, because I made a Channel 4 documentary series called The World's Most Extraordinary People and Me that wasn't remotely exploitative.
Right.
And I met the world's tallest woman, the smallest man, and I met a guy called Dennis Avner who was called the Catman.
The Catman?
And he felt that he was feline.
Right.
Okay, so he wasn't changing gender, he was still a boy, but he was a boy cat. And his family, he was a bit in his 40s, his family were Native Americans.
Right.
And for Native Americans, cats are totemic. So he didn't just come up with this out of thin air. But actually, when it comes to the trans discussion or trans debate, if we're going to say that you're born in a man's body and you identify as a female, and we all sort of celebrate that, acknowledge it, surely you can change species, right?
Trans species.
Or race.
No,
Why
it's different. Because gender is seen as a social construct, whereas species, like you can't change your biological sex.
No.
You can change your gender.
There are probably nutters out there that could argue that even species are a construct.
True. I mean, if you were raised by wolves.
Exactly. Well, that's white privilege, isn't it?
But Catman.
Oh, no, don't
Catman
say that.
moved to Nepal, and then what did Catman do?
Who knew? There you go.
Love that. Did you just make that?
You do wonder what parts you take from other animals, wouldn't you? It's mind boggles. I'm wondering whether there are one or two things I could borrow from a donkey.
Not going to comment on that.
Next up, in The Independent, every bachelor's worst nightmare. Miriam,
Oh, so this woman secretly poked a hole in her partner's condom to get pregnant.
Oh, no.
Did a bit of a sieve. Bit of a sieve while he wasn't looking.
Did he not notice?
I don't know.
See, I would do that if I was intimate with Bill Gates.
Yeah.
The condoms we use would have more holes than...
So basically,
he's rich.
This is a difficult one. He's a 42-year-old man dating a 39-year-old woman, so a woman that is at the end of her biological...
She's in a hurry.
She needs to get pregnant. If you go out with a friends with benefits situation with a girl in her late 30s, she might be desperate to have a child. Even though she wouldn't say it, she might be desperate to have a child. So I kind of have some empathy with her, even though it's a callous thing to do, you know. So anyway, the German courts have sentenced her and given her... It's a terrible story, actually. It's funny, but it's terrible.
She didn't actually get pregnant.
She didn't get pregnant. She lied. So she said that she was pregnant, and then he put court order on her, and then...
Could you explain, for people like me that are stuck in the past, what does friends with benefits mean?
I have no idea.
Really?
I think it's one of these...
in Scotland, it's when you go and sign on together.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is.
It's one of these emotionally detached words that makes us live in this construct where women don't develop deep emotional bonds with the person that they're sleeping with, so that they have to kind of lie to themselves that they're all as emotionally detached as men, and it's all fine, and we're all the same,
it's
and
very
everything's
much,
equal.
So friends with benefits...
and actually, the reality is you're devastated because you want the partner for life, particularly at 39.
So friends with benefits is a male construct superimposed onto women.
I didn't say it's a male construct. I said it's a societal construct, a kind of current trend, let's say.
But perhaps...
word that makes something feel more detached than it is.
And they've made it...
Because if you say the word, then you believe the scenario.
They've made it a sort of new thing. Well, they've tried to sort of rebrand it as polyamory or ethical non-monogamy. So when I met my wife last year, but before that I was on dating apps, and there's a lot of women talking about ethical non-monogamy. But then you get to talk to them about it, and they don't actually want it. It's just what everybody's doing. We used to just call it being a massive whorebag, and that was fine. But now they've got to call it ethical non-monogamy because it's all progress and, feminism.
Yeah,
and stuff.
a lot of this is just taking the same experience and rebranding it with a word that makes it sound less judgmental.
Very briefly on this particular case, I was fascinated reading about it just before we came on air.
Yeah.
That this couple, they had a casual relationship. The agreement was, the deal was, look, we're not going to have any emotional commitment. We're just going to enjoy...
Yeah, and the woman's like, yeah, sure, fine, great.
Right. As she perforated her...
like a voodoo doll.
Right, yeah, like a kind of Tetley's tea
One
bag.
there.
I hope she didn't do it when it was on.
But do you think that he was a bit harsh in calling the cops, because now this woman's in jail?
Yeah, I think that's a bit of an overreach.
Take it a bit far.
I understand that it's kind of refreshing to see a story about a woman being an abuser in some way, which is nice. It's a nice balance there. Because you constantly get told the men are the abusers, the women are the victims, and blah blah blah.
Wait till you hear about Amber Heard. You're gonna love that.
Yeah, you do wonder in terms of how that will play out. Apparently, this woman was that close to being done for rape, for statutory rape.
But she's not pregnant anyway. So,
no, but I guess it was a sort of form of abuse or whatever. But anyway, a fascinating story. We have reached the end of part 2, or second base, if you will. When we get back, it will be time for third base, where we will hopefully unclasp areas, explore each other's ideas, and just maybe expose our sensitive parts to each other as a group. I'm basically talking about me and Leo. See you in 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's front pages in the company of myself, Mark Dolan, and two of my paid friends, Miriam Elia and Leo Kearse. Next, the woman who nudged protesters with her Range Rover. Remember her? Well, the Telegraph has the latest, Leo.
Yeah, so she's been convicted. So she was on the school run, taking her kids to school, and she nudged. Insulate Britain were blocking the road, and she just nudged them slightly with a Range Rover, which doesn't seem the worst thing to do. And she pleaded guilty to dangerous driving, and she's been disqualified from driving for a year and ordered to pay a £240 fine. So that's a £40 fine and then a £95 victim surcharge and £105 in costs, which is probably the most that protesters earned in a year. And it just seems unfair. I mean, if she ran over an Extinction Rebellion or Insulate Britain protester, that would reduce that person's carbon footprint to zero, which is surely what they want.
What they want.
So why don't they encourage more Range Rovers to drive over these protesters? And then we can all... Then with the amount of carbon we've saved, we can all get V8s.
This in contrast, Miriam, to how the police handled the Insulate Britain protesters early in the pandemic.
Softly.
Footage of female police officers saying, "Are you guys okay? Do you need a drink? Do you want something
Do you want a hot chocolate?" Whereas with the freedom protesters, they were like, "Get in the van, you bastards! Let's assault a people like an old person." Yeah, they seem to have like ideological, framework that they're woke. They have certain groups that are good to protest and certain groups that are vile spreaders of disease. They've completely. To me, they kind of lost the plot morally in their treatment of people.
Yeah, we saw that, didn't we, with the Sarah Everard vigil as well?
Yes, that was this. So this is more like it's a single parent mother trying to get to work. She's on antidepressants. She's come out of a 12-year abusive relationship. Jeez. She's obviously mentally unstable.
Do you follow her on Instagram?
I've just read to the end of the article.
Sounds like you've been to the pub with her.
I know how hard it is being a mother and how tough it is, but I obviously don't think you should run over any protester ever. But I think they're making an example out of her to sort of... It's... what do you call it when you kind of eulogise...
Scapegoat.
Yeah, to scapegoat somebody and to kind of, again, give the environmental movement more sort of sacred air about it.
Oh, yeah.
How dare you? These people are suffering because we're all going to die.
Right.
So it's
you deify them, you
deify them. You lionise certain groups and then other groups you vilify, and that feeds the public narrative.
Yeah.
And that deification means that they're beyond any kind of rational debate.
Yeah. When they really shouldn't be sitting in the middle of a motorway.
Because they use emotion to blindside you. They use emotion and this deification and this kind of illusion of suffering for planet Earth. It's religious. It's totally religious. And they use that as a kind of way of shutting down any kind of coherent debate. So anybody that dares go near them is this awful, evil person. Even though she shouldn't have done it. She shouldn't have done it, but...
And we've seen,
But I think the story is amplified for a reason. It's not just... it's not nothing is kind of arbitrary.
And in history, we've seen some of the worst tyranny with the idea that we've got right on our side. It's for your own good. The means justify the ends.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no self-reflection with people like, Extinction Rebellion, any wokists. They all think that they're righteous, they're doing the good cause. This is for, they're moving towards a utopia. So anybody that gets hurt in the way, that's justifiable. So they can cancel people, they can get people fired from their jobs, they can bully people to suicide, they can block the road when people are trying to get to work.
Yeah, they're quite malevolent, really. I actually saw a poster of them today, and it said, love planet Earth or something, and then the O was a skull, a death skull.
Right.
So the word love with a death skull in the middle, I was like, whoa, that's a kind of jarring thing to look at. Maybe that's quite revealing.
And I've received some of the worst abuse online from people who proudly state on their Twitter biography, #BeKind. That's very
they say it in a kind of, what's that film Goodfellas with the mafia, kind of, be kind, show me some respect. It's like...
Well, isn't it a bit like Glasgow, where if someone says, hey, pal, and it's like, they don't mean that they're your friend.
No.
Yeah. The word pal has got...
They use these sentimental... It's all this sentimental language to cover up a deep, kind of quite menacing thing.
Yeah. A menacing subtext. We might have to recalibrate who the good and bad guys are after all. Saturday's Daily Mail, and it's another day, another attempt at diversity quotas, Leo.
Oh, yeah, so this is... the head of the Royal Shakespeare Company has said that only disabled actors should play Richard III. So he's the king in the Shakespearean play who is hunchbacked and crippled, although apparently he might not have been as badly affected as that in real life. But Gregory Doran, who's been in charge of the Royal Shakespeare Company for 10 years, and whose late husband gave us several performances using a crutch, said that it wouldn't be appropriate for a non-disabled, an able-bodied person to play Richard III now. And I don't know, I mean, I think, where does this end? I mean, do we end with only Richard III being allowed to play Richard III? It's a nonsense. You're an actor.
People call Richard.
That's the whole
Disabled
point.
people called Richard, I think, is the answer, surely.
This is the cult of lived experience, which means that if somebody is a certain race or disability or whatever, that they have a more authentic experience. So therefore, there can't really be any art. It just has to be their suffering that's on display. Then they want this kind of... They're searching for this kind of authentic suffering. And, it's not to say that there aren't a lot of disabled actors out there that are brilliant. And I do think that there should be more, actually. But I was thinking about this, you want to be in a play or in a movie or whatever because you're a good actor, not because you have a disability. You want to be a good actor. That's the most important thing.
And actors become somebody that they're not,
yes. Surely. Yeah, and that's the whole point, yes. Yeah, you're acting, you're playing something that you're not. Yes.
And if you're talking about lived experience, I mean, I think the lived experience that would inform this role more than, having a twisted spine or whatever Richard III had is being a medieval monarch. So have we got any medieval monarchs who can play this role? So no, because we're in the 21st century now? I lose track.
22nd.
Well, you've got
we're in the 22nd century.
Robin Williams, well, it feels like the 18th at the moment. Robin Williams, the wonderful comedy actor, he played a gay character in The Birdcage, a memorable performance, a very affectionate portrait of a gay man.
Yeah.
The American sitcom Modern Family, I don't know if you've seen it, but the main gay character is a really funny, chubby guy called Cam, I think is the name. Anyway, it turns out he's played by a straight guy.
Right.
But his portrayal of a gay character in that show has been transformative for the perception of gay people in American society.
Does it matter that he's gay or not?
Well, right, he's a straight actor pretending to be gay who has essentially created much more acceptance and indeed enthusiasm for gay marriage and gay relationships. So go figure.
And also I'm seeing so many people, especially in the arts, are identifying as queer despite never having had any same-sex experience.
What does queer mean?
It's just a made-up thing that means you can get on the LGBTQ acronym and get some privilege points.
Is it the same as pansexual? Does it mean you'll do anyone? Because that's me.
No, it literally just means...
anything.
Yeah.
Just means you're like...
I mean, if you left me alone with a pig's heart, I reckon I could do some damage.
That might be why it failed.
I might might be able to slide into one of those aorta.
So you're a pansexually.
Yeah, so honestly, I do think this is mad. What I would say is, I believe there was a series featuring the character of Anne Boleyn, one of Henry VIII's wives.
Right.
And a very talented black actress played Anne Boleyn. Of course, Anne Boleyn would never not have been a black woman.
No.
She played it. And I thought, this is great, because this is a reaffirmation that actors become somebody they're not.
Yes.
So surely that's the way to go.
Yes.
Do you remember that story?
Oh, yeah, but try casting me as Nelson Mandela and see what happens.
Well, this is what should happen. And somebody that's disabled should be able to become, if special effects allow, James Bond.
I'd love to see my son as James Bond. He's disabled.
Why not?
He's probably
Leave the door
better
open.
looking.
But I'd rather have people totally miscast for things than having, as you say, that identity politics where...
It's all about micromanaging kind of people and putting them in little groups and subsections and boxes according to very shallow ways of looking.
Is it also a reminder of how anti-art wokeism is?
Yes, because it's seeking to control
It can't
and
be
manage.
good for art if you have these very strict quotas.
No, because art has to be spontaneous and it has to come. It comes from this other other place, and so these people are trying to. It's not art anymore, really. It's.
Although, let me give one to the wokies, which is the Beatles were disgracefully undiverse. Saturday's Sun now, and we all know childhood obesity is a problem, but these parents might have taken things a bit far, Miriam.
So, sorry, I've got the wrong...
Oh, it's this one.
Can I just say that I like to occasionally deliberately confuse you?
Sorry, yes,
it's how I roll.
The wrong... yes, so... YouTube parents who forced their 6-year-old to compete in a marathon, despite admitting that as a 6-year-old he was ready to collapse. So these parents, Ben and Cammy Crawford, made their 6-year-old son Rainer run for 26.2 miles. My God.
Well, their first crime was calling him Rainer. I think we can agree on that. But secondly, I mean, this is child abuse, isn't it?
No, that is child abuse.
Well, there is. There's
an
age limit on marathons. You've got to be 18 to run a marathon. And once you get to 18, you can go nuts. You can do it in a diving suit, whatever you want to do. But a 6-year-old running a marathon...
But I think that the point is he was forced.
Yeah, and was it to get him to slim down?
It doesn't actually say. He doesn't seem to
Do we know
be...
what motivated this?
They said that he was motivated by snacks. I mean, I think any 6-year-old would be motivated by snacks. if their parent... I mean, my mum used to make me go on 18-mile walks and stuff. But walking isn't the same as a marathon.
Did she ever ask you to come back, or...?
They should have left me in the French countryside.
Go out for a walk and just stay there.
Go for 18 miles, see you later.
I think we've got another... Is there another obesity story knocking about? Let's have a look at this. I think this is in relation to
lockdown. Again, so this thing that was about our health and safety made everyone obese and fat, particularly women.
Please don't tell me the measures made Britain sicker.
It says women piled on more... we were saving lives, saving Granny.
Oh, please don't tell me that closing the gyms and keeping fast food outlets open is a bad thing.
Yeah, apparently children's immune systems have been weakened massively because they didn't interact with anybody, which is kind of just logic, isn't it?
It really is.
And reason.
This is where I come in with my catchphrase, Leo, which is, well done, everyone. Isn't it? Well done, everyone. And here we are, 2 years on, with a sicker, more divided and poorer society.
Fatter society.
Yeah, and fatter, it turns out.
What we need is food shortages.
Probably do.
Sorry.
Maybe just offer kids a pig's heart and nothing else. But you either have that or you go to bed.
Apparently, so Leicester University researched 938,000 adults, and 14% of them, that's quite a lot, became overweight or obese during this 2-year period.
Very sad.
And they were sort of, eating for emotional comfort.
And probably boredom as well.
And baking, boredom and baking, yeah. And watching death on the news every day.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this chap in the Daily Mirror has absolutely killed with his beach body, but in a very unorthodox way, Miriam.
Yes. So this man, what's his name? He doesn't know. Oh, Dean Gunther, 34, could never get a six-pack.
And we've got some pictures of him. There he is.
Oh, wow. Look at... That's pretty
Is that
weird.
Here comes another
No,
one.
it's a tattoo. So he was going to the gym, working out, eating healthy, and it just wasn't happening. After a year and a half, he thought, sod this, I'll just get it tattooed onto my chest. So he met up with a tattoo artist, and there's the result.
Good luck to him. Wonder what else you could paint onto your body.
Someone on when he released it on TikTok, people said, if you can't tone it, tat it. I quite like that.
It's good work, isn't it?
Yeah, well, women wear makeup, so I don't see what the difference is.
It's exactly the same level of deception, isn't it?
The worst crime ever that I've seen is in Georgia Asda. Are you familiar with that brand?
Yes, I am.
An excellent clothing range, good quality. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
And what's the fraud?
But years ago, they had a range of jumpers
Yeah.
with a pretend shirt underneath the jumper. And if you actually turned it inside out, it's just the top collar of the shirt stitched in to look like the guy's wearing a shirt under.
I hate that.
I mean, that puts the tattoo in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine falling in love with a guy that was that dishonest.
It's not even a real
ladies,
shirt.
if you're watching, always check if it's a real shirt. That's my Dolan tip of the day. Let's move to the Daily Mirror now, and it brings us to a story which is something more akin to Planet of the Apes, Leo.
Yes, so it was in India, a death trial had to be halted after a monkey ran off with the evidence. So it snatched a packet containing 15 objects, including the alleged knife that was used to commit the murder. It had been left under a tree as there was no room to store it at the police station. So I think this sounds even worse than West Midlands Constabulary in terms of handling evidence and dealing with cases. So and the constable responsible for looking after it had been suspended, then he retired, and then he died. So they couldn't continue with the death trial.
I think the monkey did more than steal the evidence.
Sounds like it to me. Let's see if we can manage 3 in 3 before we go. The Independent, and there's news in the bee world that's causing a buzz, Miriam.
Yes, so apparently honeybees can differentiate between odd and even numbers, which I find fascinating. Scientists, including those from Monash University, basically conduct an experiment where... Oh, I can't explain. It's...
Well, they're bloody clever, right?
They're bloody clever, yeah. I mean, it's kind of obvious that they're clever.
These aren't clever.
They make honey. I mean, that's clever.
Wasps have worked out how to sting you without dying. Wasps are smarter, and wasps are also stupid.
Miriam, here's a question for you. Is there any point to studies like this?
You know, yeah, like so that we can read it and have a laugh.
That would do. That works for me. I'm in. How about this from the Daily Star, which sounds like the title of a Smith song, Leo?
Oh.
Heaven knows I'm miserable now.
The man with the penis.
Is this the man with the
penis on his arm?
Man with a penis on his arm.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? All right. Yeah. So this guy, he had a penis on his arm instead of a hand, and he had it on his arm. He lost it he had an infection in his penis.
Yeah.
And so it had to be removed. So they stitched it onto his arm to give it a blood supply. I've seen this done with other things. I actually had a similar thing done on my leg. They had to swing flesh around over the bone to give it a blood supply to heal after I got run over by a truck. But
wow.
But yeah, this guy, I mean, he's the sort of guy. Some people wear their heart on their sleeve. This guy wears his penis on his arm.
No.
Yeah, now he's going on to Tinder, and he can actually swipe with his penis. No, he can't. It's been reattached. It's in the right place. So you know, if you do go home with them, it's going to be normal sex, not some sort of hybrid.
Arm sex.
Fist. So yeah, now he's back on Tinder and he's looking for love. So if there's anybody out there who wants a 47-year-old mechanic with penis scars,
But apparently he has 2 children. So were they conceived when the penis was on the arm, or?
Probably not. Probably not, to be honest.
Did he just nudge his girlfriend?
No, fair play to him. It's fantastic that this can be done, and they can save a penis that's had this severe infection.
Couple of seconds on flirting in the Daily Mail, Miriam.
Yes, so it says, are you bad at flirting? And yet again, our favourite people in the world, scientists, have something to say about it. So some people are naturally good at flirting and other people aren't, which is a giant scientific breakthrough.
Yeah, of course.
Who knew? Oh, God, it goes into so much detail.
I mean, is there any... You are a woman of the world, a young woman in her prime. It's embarrassing when men flirt, isn't it?
No.
Really?
No.
You'll take that?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Leo, you look so gorgeous tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm back tomorrow at 9. Headline is at 11. See you then.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what